Hey, everybody, this is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer, and welcome to a live broadcast. I've done these before, but this one's going to hopefully be a little different. I'm using some different software, and I'm still learning it, so you're going to have to bear with me, especially if you're not watching this live. If you're going to be with me live, you're going to get to see Jim in action, trying to figure out this new streaming software. I think I've got it figured out, so we'll see how it works out today. Per a special request from a friend, I am going to show you start to finish. I hope. I don't think I have a time limit on this. I have subscribed to the service, so I don't think there's any limit to the time. So I'm hoping it doesn't cut me off. But we're going to aim for an hour. If we go over, great. But if it cuts me off in an hour, at least I can try to finish this in 1 hour. So today, what I'm going to do is I am going to design something on the screen you're going to be able to watch, and then I'm going to send it to the laser, and we're going to see how the process works. So what I'm going to do here is wait about 5 minutes. I told everybody I'd let everybody have 5 minutes to sort of get on before I get started. Hello, Lisa. Welcome. You don't have to participate in the chat, but if you do, just say hi. You don't have to give your real name. I might know who you are. But can you at least tell me where you are from? That would be really cool. I know where Lisa's from. So, Lisa, I shouldn't be using your real name. I apologize. I should have asked, can I use your name? You've probably figured out if you're watching this that Dungeon Matrons Machinations is, her name's Lisa. Welcome, Lisa. I hope we get a good group here. And I hope things are going well out there where you are. I hope you're safe. Let's see. I hope you're ready for tomorrow's game. I haven't checked the Discord to make sure it's still on. I think it is. But hey, Arcvade, right there in my workshop. I used to have it hanging. Now I put it over there because that's where I see it the most, and I want people to be able to see it when I'm on video and stuff. So I hang it back there in the background, and I do get asked about it occasionally. Like, is that a painting of a goblin? Yeah, that's me. Tabletop Engineer. Welcome to the live stream, my friends. And right now it says we got 4 on. So we got a couple people that haven't announced themselves. Not required, but certainly would love to say hello to you. Arcvane is an artist. He takes commissions. I maybe I shouldn't say that. You can reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with him. But he did that painting for me. It was a gift. It was came as a surprise, and totally love it. Love this painting. It's a goblin holding with eye shields and a wrench spanner, and just has a prized place in my. I can't hang it on the cement wall. I guess I could if I drill into the cement wall, but I can't do that. We're safe, not near any dangerous areas. Recent rains, fire threat, snow. Good. Glad to hear it. All right. Like I said, we'll give this about 5 minutes. We're about 3.5 minutes in. So I'll give a couple more minutes and then we will get started. This is being recorded. So if you come in now or later, it will be, well, you won't know it, but it will be recorded. So you'll be able to hear me say that this is being recorded and will be made available on my YouTube channel. The temperature today, it's actually really nice outside. It's just cold in my basement because it's a basement. So that's why I'm wearing long sleeves. Otherwise, I could probably go outside in a short sleeve shirt. But because of the cement floor and the cement walls and everything and all the windows, it gets cold down here. It just doesn't heat up very well. And it's in the back of the house, so no sunlight, no direct sunlight. So yeah, I'm a little chilly right now, but it's all good. Samoa, hi from Ukraine. I hope it's not. I just answered that question. Greetings. I hope you and your family, and I hope everybody is safe over there. Still think about you guys all the time, and it's funny how the media, it has its darling for a moment, and then it jumps to something else. But I know that I'm always thinking about y'all. Project Servant, here we go. Howdy ho, neighbors. Ready? All right, you ready? All right, you ready, Alan? All right, he's here. Alan, you're the one. I think you're the one that asked for me to do this, right? I think you did. Yeah, pretty sure it was you. Be aware, I believe I've got to put in a request to the Be Live people, but I think there is a 30-second delay from when you type something and hit enter before I see it. So I do apologize. I'm going to have to figure out how this works and make sure that I think I can scroll the questions and go back. If you have questions, absolutely. Just ask them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them. This is not scripted. I mean, I did sit down last night and I sort of like, I did write out like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to start? And where do I want to end? So hopefully, we will get your answers, your questions answered. And if not, I'll answer them at the end of the video. All right, we have 6 people on so far. I think and we are at 5 minutes and 58 seconds. So we're 1 minute past what I said. So what I'm going to do is, some of you I know are crafters and you have certain skill levels, and I can't make that assumption about all of you. So some of this is probably going to be very simplistic or like, yeah, get on with it. But I've got to cover some basics first. All right, this right here is this is chipboard or card. Well, it's not cardstock, but it's a cardboard thick. It's about a 16th or a 32nd of an inch thick. It's kind of what cereal boxes are made of, or the back of notepads. You can buy it in big quantities, and a lot of us use this for crafting. And normally when I sit down to make something, and when I say make something, like this. All right. So these are pieces that I have stained the wood. I've cut them out, and they'll be put together to make like a little faceplate for a game I play called Cthulhu Death May Die. Before I ever get to this final, and this isn't the final one, I got to glue the sides on it and everything. Before I get to this point, I will have done anywhere from 5 to a dozen or more tests, prototypes, raw cuts for sizes, and then I go into the details. So I have never designed something that the first iteration that I cut out on the laser was the final version. I'm always updating things as I find ways to improve them. And a lot of times you don't see the second, third, or even fourth iteration. You might see the 6th or 10th. This one right here probably went through probably a dozen, more than a dozen iterations before I put it up on Etsy for sale. And it all started with this, a piece of cardstock. So what you do, it has to hold, it has to hold a card like this, that thing I just showed you. Here's the card. So I started with this. Now, there's nothing that is going to be touching the card. So it was pretty easy. I just cut the chipboard. I cut it to the dimensions of this card, and that matches this. This is, well, actually, this is a little bit bigger, and you'll see that there is a little bit of wiggle room on each side, about a 16th of an inch all the way around. And that's so the card drops in there nice and neat, and it moves just a little, not much, but it's not tight. It's not going to ruin the edges of the card or anything like that. So what are we going to do today? Well, I'm going to skip some steps because I know most of you want to see the process from design to the laser. So I'm going to skip the chipboard part. And what am I going to be making today? Well, there is a new game out, and I've just started playing it, and it's called Halo Flashpoint. You control 4 miniatures. It's the Halo universe. I never really played the video game, but I love this skirmish war game. You control 4 characters, or up to 4, and it's a 2-player game. You go against another player, and you control. You have a card like this that represents one of the soldiers. You'll have 4 of these, and these cards have some stats on them, and mostly you just need to be able to view this card. But during the game, there are things that will happen, as in most skirmish games. You can pick up a weapon, and when you do, you have a weapon in your hand, and there are drops in the game that you can pick up, and you can pick up one, and it's represented by a card like this. Got it? And it's also represented on the game board by a little token like this, just a small token. And when you pick up the token, you put this, it says pickup slot, and it slots in right here, right? But it's paper, right? There's no, you sort of place it there to indicate you have a second weapon. And you can flop these, you can switch these out as needed. You have shields. Almost every Spartan, that's what they're called, has 2 energy shields, which are represented by a token like this. When you take a hit, it turns to red. And most, like I said, most have 2. So after 2 hits, your shields are depleted, and then you're relying on your armor and then your health. There are conditions, like this one is pinned. Okay, it looks like a little explosion. Pinned, it means you're pinned down. This token means you've activated. This is an example of a scenario token where you would have to pick it up or achieve some objective, and you would place this on your card to indicate that you did this. And there's a bunch, and they're all different shapes. There's a hexagon, a circle, a square, a rectangle. So I have not played this game enough to really have a good idea of what kind of player board. I don't even know if I would use a player board with this game, but I have seen players using 3D printed ones. So there's a market out there, and the trick is coming up with something that is different, but also something that is useful to the player. So that's what we're going to do in just 1 second. Let me check your questions. Hey, David, welcome. I think David's overseas right now. Speak of the devil, David, I missed most of yesterday's live stream. Okay, I'm caught up. I think I'm caught up. Let me see. Can I scroll these? Yes, I can. I can scroll the comments. Hey, Carl, welcome. All right, good. We got 9 people on so far. All right, so I am going to design a basic holder for the card, an extra weapon card, and the tokens. And I don't know where I'm going to put those yet, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll take your suggestions. Now, everything I do starts with a drawing. And listen, I'm not an artist, as you can tell. This could be a bar layout for all I know. I mean, if I didn't have any words on it, somebody might go, what is that? A parking lot with a restaurant and some, but this is my rough draft of where I would want to place some of these items and quantities. And I'll be working from this. All right. So how are we going to do this? Well, I'm going to flip over my screen, and I believe you'll still be able to hear me when I'm on Inkscape. I use a program called Inkscape, Inkscape. The website is inkscape.org. It's free. I've been using it for years and years and years. I've learned all the ins and outs. I can give you a great channel to go watch if you want to learn to use Inkscape. It is powerful. It is awesome. And I can't imagine using something else to design. So let me go ahead real quick. I'm going to add a page, a screen, excuse me. I'm going to tell that I can share the screen, and I'm going to flip over to it. And then I'm going to come back and check the comments, because I want to make sure, because when I flip over, I won't be able to see your comments right away. And I want to make sure you can hear me when I'm on the screen. So let me do this. I'm going to set this, and you went, whoa, and I'm going to come over here. All right. Just give me 10 seconds or so. What you're looking at is Inkscape. I am going to flip back to the channel, to my video feed in just a second to check the chat. If one or two of you would just let me know that you can see the Inkscape screen, this, and that you can still hear me. I just want to make sure that when I flip over to this screen, it doesn't cut out the microphone. So let me go back, and Inkscape is the GOAT. Yes, it is. All right. Somebody let me know. Did you see the Inkscape screen, and could you hear my voice at the same time? And like I said, there's a 30-second delay, so I may have to wait just a few seconds for y'all to tell me, because if it didn't work, I'm in trouble. You could add a sensor to play a sound when a token is changed in Jim's card holder. Good Lord. Over engineering the plumbing, or over complicating the plumbing. Inkscape visible, sound comes through. Thank you, Carl. All right, let's go back. So I will flip to this, and then we will go back. All right. So what you're looking at is Inkscape, and this is not going to be an Inkscape tutorial. I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing. Now, You can work in inches or millimeters by just changing this. I prefer inches because I live in America and we are imperial by nature, and we just we do things our own way. So I'm working in inches, and what I do is the wood that I insert into the laser comes in different sizes. I have two different size sheets that I'll put in there. I have a 19 by 12 inches, and I have a 48 by 24 inches. So what I'm going to do is I am going to actually draw a rectangle on the screen, and I'm going to select it. Oh, come on now. There we go. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to change its dimensions right here. And I'm going to make its height 12 and its width 19. Come on. There we go. All right. That is a piece of wood that I would insert into the laser. I do this so that when I design something, I can try to keep it within the borders and know that I'm not going to need two sheets, right? All right. So I have written down on this card, and I'm going to flip back here. I have written down on this card all the dimensions for the various items that I need to create spaces for. Okay. This is called a bamboo board. It's called a boogie board. Excuse me. It's very thin. It's like a dry erase, but you just press this button and it all disappears. It's kind of like a little iPad, but it only does writing. That's it. But very cool device. And I have written down all of my dimensions here. So let's go back to this. And you know what? There's got to be a better way to do this. Let's see. All right. Share screen. I'm supposed to be able to. Okay, it didn't work. All right. So anyway, let's go back to the screen. So knowing that I've got the dimensions, let's go ahead and create the most basic board. What I want to do is I want to create a board that has indentations, recesses to hold these items. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out all of the different components. This will be the Spartan card, the stat card, and it is 5 by 3.5, 5 wide. 5 wide. Ooh, I was pretty close there. 5 by, and I was very close, 3.5. I've gotten very good at drawing things quickly that are to the right scale. I just got lucky there, but that is the size of the Spartan card. Now, when the laser cuts out, it doesn't give a lot of, there's not a lot of slack or rope there, right? I need to buff this. I need to give a little pad. So what I typically do is I give it about 0.05 and 0.5 on here. And I don't know if you noticed, I'm going to change it back to 5. Watch the image. Did you see it change just a little bit on the width? I'm going to do it again and watch it get a little bit bigger, just a hair bigger. That will allow the card to have a little wiggle room. That is the space where the card will be dropped into. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually type in, this will be Spartan stat card. And what I do is I put that in the item so I remember what it is, and then I group it all. And now I can move it all around as one object. Now let's make the weapon card. The weapon card, pickup card, is 2.5 tall by 1 5/8. So we want when you see me do this little extra step, I'm just converting it to a path. That makes it a vector object so that I can resize it. Probably more than you needed to know, but there you go. All right, so the height, man, again, I drew it. It's going to be 2.5. Oh, it's close. And 5/8. You can do fractions in there, and then you can put a 1 in front to make it 1 5/8, like that, 1.625. That is the card right there. Now, I'm just going to put WC. Oh, WC. You can add text. Believe it or not, the laser can etch text. It will not do that because this is done in black. A red line for my laser means cut. A blue line means draw. It just lasers the surface. So it's like drawing a line on it. And then purple is engraving where it actually burns down into the wood a depth that you designate. The blue and the purple are very similar, but the blue is a very light power and it doesn't do much. All right, so we've got that, and I'm going to group it. And what I'm going to do next is the weapon token. And the weapon token is a tiny little thing, and it's going to be 1 1/4 by 0.75. 1 1/4 by 0.75. So it's 0.75. I forgot to add the 0.5 on this one, but I'll go back and do that. And then the height is oh no, sorry, I had it wrong. The width is 1 1/4, so 1.255, and the height is 0.755. And that is the token. And unfortunately, what you can do is you don't have to put the actual words in it. You can actually move it near it like this, and then I'll group it so I always know what it is. And remember, the black has no effect. The laser will ignore anything black. Let's do a crouch pin. Let's do the round, the hexagon, and the circle tokens. They are all 5/8 in diameter or maximum width height. So what I can do is I can take a circle and then I'll convert it to a path so I can shrink it down or enlarge it. And I'm going to make it 5/8 by 5/8. So it's 5/8, and I'll add 0.5 onto the end. And then it's 0.6255. That converted it up. That's interesting. All right. So I don't know why it did that. Inkscape's got some real weird little things that goes on. All right, let's do a square. I'll draw a square. And it's not really a square. That's more like a rectangle because the sides aren't even. But again, I can control it by just saying 0.6255, 0.6255. There we go. Now that one, it did keep. That's interesting. All right. And then the last one I need is a octagon. Or no, not an octagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 would be hexagon. Yeah. I can't remember. I think it's a hexagon. All right, just putting these together so you'll be able to see. Now, hexagon, what you do is you have to use this tool here. You draw it and you tell it how many sides. 6. And then what I'll do is I'll rotate it to get it back to square. And then it needs to be a 5. It needs to be 0.6255. by 0.6255. Well, that was weird. It won't let me do that. Why not? 0.6255. Why did it do that? That is wrong. The width should be 0.62. It should be 5/8. And this should be 625. Hold on. 5/8. Come on. That does not look right. That definitely does not look right, does it? It's not cement. It should be more like this. Width, height. Okay, so obviously I've measured it wrong because it's an octagon, and I know its width is, that's what it is. The width is 5/8, and it's a 1/2 inch tall. That's why. 0.5. There we go. Okay. Now, again, after I cut this, I may find that the token doesn't fit, but we're going to just do a test prototype to see how things go. All right, let me flip back to the main screen to see if there are any questions real quick. Do you need one of these things? Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to go back up here. If you want some help with OBS, we can talk later. Probably. Any chance to mirror image because it's hard to read in reverse. Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. It is mirrored, isn't it? Shoot. And now all of a sudden my screen's down there in the lower right. Who knew? Right down here. I want it to flip-flop, but how do I do that? Maybe I move this over here. I don't know. That is really weird. Let's go to this screen. What happens if I come back over here? That is so weird. I don't know. Let's go back. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I forgot to read your questions. I'll ask about the mirroring. That's probably something that I can do. I just haven't. I just started using this software today. If you want to be hideously lazy, you can just set the default paper size. You can, but I'm always doing things in different sizes in Inkscape. Saves all of 2 seconds. You're right. May a water closet. Add a scoop indent to help when getting. Yeah, that's a great one. Very nice one. Do you need one of these things per tabled miniature? Well, you control 4. So one option would be to make one plate, but maybe I make a 4-plate one to hold 4 tokens and all. It would be a lot of tokens and it would be really wide. Or I design them so that they can be magnetically connected to each other. Right now, what I want to do is I want to design just one. Once you design one, then you could copy it and make 4 on a board or however. So good question. Just joining my earbuds. Okay. Hey, David, welcome. Inkscape includes the stroke size. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Point to point is wider than height. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I was like, I wasn't thinking. I'm like, that's stupid. Hey, Craft of the Yeti, screen share isn't mirrored. Yeah. I'll figure out how to do that. Let's go back. So that is so wild that it won't, I'll have to figure out how to do that. Okay. So I've got all of the elements. Well, no, there's one more. There's the token for the scenarios that needs to be, it is 7/8. Okay. So this one will be 7/8 diameter. I love that you can type fractions in and then just tag a 5 on the end, and it gives it that 7/8. Come on, 7/8. 5. Come on, there you go. That is so funny. All right, there are all my components. So let's start playing with them. Let's. What I'd like to do is, based on my original drawing here, I want to put the Spartan card there. I want to put the weapon in. By the way, you notice when it'll snap to it. Anytime it does that, you can turn that feature off, but I like it because what I do is I like to have the same consistent space between any cutouts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap the right key about 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I use that just to always keep a gap between things consistent looking. Then I want to take the token and I want to put it here. I'm going to go up 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I want to be centered with this, right? It kind of looks, but what I can do is click this, and then I got to take the word token out. It'll center with the word. I just want the squares to be centered. All right. And then I go to align and I align along the horizontal and boom, there we go. All right. So that is, oh, and one other thing I do just out of habit, I make a copy of all my pieces, and I usually keep them over to the side. That way I can just copy and paste them as I need them. So I'll put all these sort of together, and I don't mess with these. I keep these as they are, and hope for the best, right? Hope they're all the right dimensions. All right, based on my drawing, I've looked through the scenarios, and right now I only see there's a scenario where you're collecting these objects, and what I want to do is maximum of 3. Maybe there's a scenario that has 5, but let's do 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the shift key down and just drag it up. Oop, no, didn't mean that. Drag it up. Come on now. I'm not working at the right. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to make 3 of them. Come on, duplicate. And did I already duplicate it once? I did. All right, so here are 3 for the tokens. I'm going to align them vertically or horizontally along the vertical axis this way. I'm going to evenly space them. And then I'm going to group them. And I'm going to center them with this rectangle so that they're centered. Everything, I like symmetry. All right, so there we go. There's a gap here of 10, and there is a bigger gap. I could shrink this gap and this gap down to 10 if I wanted to, but I can do that later. Now, I need 3 shields. That is this one. So, not that one, that one. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put them, I'm going to have them touching. Come on. Well, all right. They don't want to, let me zoom in a little bit. I want them to touch on the, I want them to snap. There we go. See how they snap? There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one 10 over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's probably too far. Let's go back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's do this one 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to group these, and these are going to be the shield. Now, what I can do, I can actually engrave text in there to say shield, shield, shield. But I want to do this as fast as I can for time purposes. So these will be my shield markers. Your health is also the same size, and you get 4 of those. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to break it. I'm going to make another copy. And health is tracked the same way with these little tokens. When you hit 4, you're technically dead. Now, some players would track three hits, and the 4th, you would just, that character's dead. But some players actually want to put the 4th token to indicate that they're on their final health and they're dead. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can certainly do it. Come on, man. Why is this thing not doing? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this will be the health group, and I'm going to put them right here. And what I can do is I can line these up with this edge. Come on. Well, it's not going to let me do it, but, oh, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to group these together, and I'm going to center them on this. And there we go. These 3 and these 4 are set as a group are centered along here. Now, I still need to track what are called actions. And these are squares and also, oh, by the way, the shield, I am so dumb. The shields are not circles. I knew that. They are the hexagons. I apologize. So what I can do is I can copy and put them in here and center them and then delete the circles. I probably shouldn't have done that because now you're confused, but I just centered them to the circles, and there we go. When you get really good at Inkscape, you can do silly stuff like that. I think these are too small. I'm going to enlarge them by grabbing them and just dragging this circle or this corner and just enlarging them a bit. For my prototype, I don't care if they're too small or too big. It's really to give me a better idea of you know, what the prototype is there to help me realize things. Hold on. I'm shrinking these down. 1, 2, 3, and this one goes 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so those are closer together. These are the same. I also want them centered vertically, so I'm going to group them, and I'm going to group these. I'm going to select them and group them along the horizontal, and then I'll group them and center them here again. And I apologize. I'm doing a lot of stupid little nitpicky stuff, but I want you to really see how this works. All right, the last thing are these condition tokens. And just to keep this thing, I could put them up here. I could put them over here, but it just feels right to put them like over here. And I think you can have like, the most I've ever seen, I think, is 4, but I think technically the number is 2. But we're gonna go with 4. And like I said, I haven't played this game enough. 5. Let's see, that was 5. And then I can duplicate these and bring them down and do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So these will be these are things you pick up like grenades. They're status effects like pinned or what was the other one? Pinned. There's I just went blank on it and I lost the pin token, but I know it's the same size. I've already lost one of my tokens. Oh well. So you'll notice that these don't look centered. So what I'll do is I'm going to group all of this as one item, and then I'm going to center these with them by doing this. And there we go. Now everything sort of looks nice and pretty, right? Okay, let's go ahead, and there is probably some stuff I'm missing. I'm sure that a Halo player out there would go, "Hey, dude, you're missing this." But I want to stop and go back and see if you have any questions, because I'm going to convert this over to a file ready to go to the laser. So let me go back to here, and let me just see. Screen share isn't mirror. Okay, guys, dropping off for now. Bye, David. See you around, David. Dang, I've been using Inkscape for years, and I didn't even know what this 11 tools. I've been using Inkscape for years, and I still learn something new on Inkscape at least once a month or so. I'm like, oh, that's how you do that. But after 3 or 4 years, there's not much that surprises me with Inkscape. They're always adding features and stuff. All right. So I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any specific questions about what I just did. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds before I'm going to go back to that screen. And I'm going to make the parts that I will cut to design the little board. So if you have a question, you got 30 seconds to throw it up on the chat screen before we start up on the next part of this. Might have missed this, but does the thickness of the line make a difference? Yes. Well, yes and no. You can control the thickness of the line. With the laser is looking for a line of a certain thickness or less. If you go too thick, I've never had that error because I always make my lines 0.1 millimeter in thickness. I know I work in inches. I'm sorry, but it's just one of those weird things. Because I think it defaults to 0.1 millimeter for thickness. You'll notice some of those lines are different thicknesses, and I'm going to show you how I fix that in just a second. So I don't see any more questions. So let's go back and notice the circle and the squares. The line is thicker than these. The laser does not care. I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it all. I'm going to ungroup it all, so everything's its own object. And I'm going to get rid of the words because I've got those over here to the left, so I won't forget what they are. I'm going to get rid of them all, and then I'm going to select everything. I'm going to come over here to fill and stroke right here. And I'm going to go to fill, and I'm going to go to stroke, and I'm going to select, I'm just going to do it in inches, and I do 0.01. 0.01. And now everything is the same thickness. As far as I know, technically, it does not matter to the laser if there's slight differences. If a cut is a cut. For it to cut, it's just one pass. So each one of these is going to be the one cut, right? Or one pass. If I want to cut this twice, there's no way to do that except in the settings of the software where you define that you want to do double cuts on a red, or double cuts on, double cuts on red. All right. So what we're looking at is the basic shape of the board. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a square around it. I'm going to give it a little space on each side. I'm going to convert it to an object. Everything, you have to convert everything to an object in Inkscape. It's just one of those annoying things. You have to convert it to an object if you want to send it to the laser, or if you want to change its dimensions using the controls and things. So that's why I'm out of a habit, that's why my habit is to do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything inside the square. When you draw a selection, anything inside will get selected. And you notice that the bottom of the box and the left of the red box is not inside the thing, so it won't select. I'm going to hit Command G, which groups it all as one object. Now what I can do is I can select both objects, the grouped object and the red box, and I can center it all. I can center it vertically and horizontally. And now it's the same, this is perfectly centered. All right, this is the face plate that will go down on another plate. How big does that other plate have to be? Well, it's going to be the exact same size. I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it right here. Now, see how it snaps? Now, this is an object, and this is an object. If I send this to the laser, there is a red line here on top of a red line. So technically that will tell the software to do a double cut. You don't want to do that. It's a waste of your tube energy and also a waste of time. Let's say this line took a minute to cut. It won't. It'll take like 5 seconds. But let's say it's a really long line and it takes a minute to cut. Well, if you double cut it, it's going to waste a minute going all the way back. So how do you get rid of that? Well, what you do is you raise this item up. I'm going to remove one of its sides. See these little these little dots? I just select them and I use this button right here to clear it. And now this object and this object are going to share this cut line. This is a huge thing that novices with lasers have got to learn. You will waste so much time doing double cuts. So now it's going to cut this line, which is going to free this object and this object. And see how it snaps? So there's your shared line. Now, the last thing I want to do is I wouldn't mind if this thing had what do you call it? Borders, something to keep this plate from sliding left or right here. I could do it on the top and the bottom, but I'm going to just do it on the sides for now. And I'm going to explain this. What I'm doing is I'm drawing another square and it will snap. Come on. Oh, you know what? I have to turn it to an object first. Then it will snap. Boom, just like that. All right, this thing is, its width is 0.9. It's 1 inch tall. That's way too tall. I'm going to make it maybe 1/4 of an inch. See right here, 0.26. Then I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it over here on this side. Now, I know right now that's not going to create an edge because I'm going to be using 1/4 inch thick wood. So this bottom plate here is 0.25. So if I glue this to the side, it's going to be flush with the top. So what I really need to do is to double it in size to 0.5. If that didn't make sense, I'll try to repeat it. Right now, I'm going to cut a piece that's going to be 1/4 of an inch, but I really want it to be 0.5 because I'm going to glue it to the side of this baseboard to make a wall and a wall so the card won't slide, so this faceplate won't slide left or right. I could put one up here and one down here, but I think it's going to be a tight enough fit that it'll hold it in place. All right. Did anyone see the mistake that's going to happen when I laser cut this? I'm a teacher here. If you said double cut on this and this, you are correct. I need to remove that edge. So I'm going to convert this to an object. I'm going to select this side and I'm going to remove it. And I'm going to come over here and make this an object. And I'm going to select this side. And now when I snap this to it, it shares a cut edge, this one, and this one will share this cut edge. And I'm not wasting time. There we go. And you'll notice all of this fits on one of these sheets. Now, ideally, what I'd like to do is to be able to fit 2 of them, but you'll notice that if I make a copy and put it, it won't fit. So that's one of the design things that comes into play. It's like, okay, I can't fit 2 of these. I can only fit 1. Now, what I could do is rotate this 90 degrees and cut out maybe this piece and do this on another piece. But it's still kind of annoying. This is one of those design things you'll figure out where you'll start playing with, do I really need this much gap? Or could these be closer here and maybe these be closer here? So I'm shrinking this entire thing, the width of it. You play with this so that you can maximize the number of items you can put on a single sheet. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to delete this so that I don't cut out the 19 by 12 sheet. I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to leave this in because you're going to see that it's also going to be imported. I'm going to save this as Halo Proto Board version 1. I always use version numbers and I'm saving it to the desktop. So I save. And here it is right here. Okay. Now the fun part. Let me check. Global option to not scale stroke width. Chris, I need to know where that is. I know it's somewhere, but man, there's so many hidden things. I would love to have a global option to just fix the scale stroke width. Removing the shared line is quality information. Thank you. If you get one thing out of this, if you have a laser or ever get a laser, and you got one thing from me, remove your shared cutting or reduce the number of cuts you make by combining objects so that they share a cut edge. Couldn't you just make a sheet full of faceplates rotated or there? Yeah, I mean, I could. If I knew that I was going to be selling a lot of these, I might break that sheet up and maybe I cut 5 faces on one sheet and 5, it's Tetris. It's Tetris. I spend hours sometimes trying to manipulate the placement of my objects so that they're the most efficient. There is software out there that can do it, but a lot of times it's either expensive or buggy or both. And so I've just learned to just sort of do it my way. If you'll remember, I drew that 19 by 12 box. For some things, I'll draw that 24 by 48, that 2 foot by 4 foot sheet, and you can fit a lot on that. And I could probably do a dozen or more of these halo sheets on one of those. But until I get it finalized, I don't start moving to the big sheets because those cost more money, right? I limit myself to the smaller sheets. All right, let me see laser Tetris. Serious, that's what I call it. Any random guy? Hey, Glazer. Hey, random guy. I used to use Inkscape, really rusty now. The arrangement of boxes on the right makes my OCD itch. Uh-oh. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is when you're designing, you design it based on your, what looks good to you. But then ultimately what I do is I usually make a few of the prototypes and I use them in my games with other players. And I get their feedback and they go, oh, I don't like this. This doesn't make sense here or whatever. I'm like, okay, I play around. So a lot of times an item that I design and make, it does not go on Etsy and get sold for months. I mean, I may have many, many hours and many days and weeks of tinkering with something before it goes to the laser. All right. You guys ready to go to the laser? Okay. Now, before we do that, since I'm going to have to move the microphone and the camera, let me show you one more piece of software that we're going to be using. I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to open up. What did I just do? I didn't mean to do that. Come on. There we go. I want to minimize it. There we go. I'm going to open up Lightburn. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here's a perfect one. Look at that. I knew why. I was like, why do I have this open? Because I wanted to show it to you. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of my Death May Die plates, face plates with their base and with their sides and the border, the pieces. I don't waste wood, so I cut some tokens out of here. And I save this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece. And I later use them to make more of these elder signs. But all of this can be cut out of a 4 foot by a 2 foot by 4 foot sheet. And you can see there's a lot of shared cutting edges that are optimized. You can see I did it down here with these things. So I just wanted to show you kind of as you get better and better with it, you'll get to where you do stuff like this. So with one single sheet of wood, I can make 7 of these. All right, let me delete this and open up what we just did. So the file we just did is called is Inkscape, and you want to save it in a file format called SVG, Scalar Vector Graphic. That means it can be enlarged, shrunk, and it doesn't lose any detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go to the desktop, and I'm going to open up the Halo board. And you'll see, here it is. But I also got this. So all I got to do, if I click on any of it, you'll see it treats it as one object. I'm going to hit Command-U to unlock everything as its own thing. And then I'm going to get rid of this. This little green dot right there is the origin. You can define that in the lower right. You could define it in the upper left. You could put it in the center. A lot of people that use laser and CNC machines do it differently. my engineering background, it's always the upper left. I'll never change it because it's just the way, but here's where, right here is where you would change it. I could change it to the bottom right, center, left, center, whatever, but I keep it on the upper left corner. And I'll explain that when I get the video on the laser and show you. So this is what I want to cut. Now, what Lightburn interfaces with the laser, and it is the software program that sends the data that make up this object to the laser. It basically tells it how to make this cut and how this by sending coordinates. Everything is a coordinate from the origin, which is 0, 0. You can run a test run on this to see how long it'll take. You go up to window and you do preview, and it tells me that it's going to take 2 minutes and 35 seconds to cut all of this out. That's not bad. That is not bad. You can even play it and watch the laser. You know, you'll see its path that it's doing. There's some things you can do to tweak this. Like if you want it to do certain things first, there are ways to do it, but it's a little more advanced than what I want to show you. And there, it's done. All right. So with this ready to go, I'm going to come back to the screen. Uh-oh, what happened? Here we go. Sorry. Come on. There we go. All right, let's go to the laser. So I've got to be very careful here. My laser, let me take my drink and move it away. The laser, is this going to reach? I'm going to unplug the power. I'm probably going to regret that. And I'm going to bring it over here. And I'm going to set it down on my laser with my microphone. And I apologize if it's got shaky cam, but it's the best I can do. All right. So you're looking at my laser here. It's a big one. And inside it, right over here, that's the laser head. That is going to move left and right to cut engrave. That gantry, which is that long beam, will move front to back. So it can cut left, right, up, down, and it can do circles and curves and all that. The bottom down here is filthy. This is all where things are been cut. You can see the smoke and you can clean this. I clean it about once every other year, or about once every year and a half. And it gets like this after about just 3 or 4 months. So some people, this drives them crazy, but if you get a laser, you cannot keep the base clean. It's just impossible. And you'll see that it's honeycombed. It has gaps in there, and there's reasons for that. It's so little pieces can fall through. And there's a collector bin down here that can be vacuumed out. We won't do that this time around. Glass to protect. This glass is a certain level of glass where the laser can't hurt your eyes, but not all lasers have that. So you got to know what you're buying. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on, and you're going to hear some noises. So it beep, 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 beep. That beep, beep is the water chiller, which is that thing right there on the ground. It's filled with water, and it has some tubes down here that push water into the tube. The tube is on the back there, and we're not gonna get into that today. But the laser can start anywhere, but it always starts at the origin. So let me set this down real quick and get a piece of wood. Hang on just a second. All right, here's your wood. Why do they do 19 by 12? Why not 20 by 12 or 18 by 12? I have no clue. Couldn't tell you. But this is a standard size that you buy when you get a laser and you go out and you start looking for wood. You're going to find that this is a pretty standard sheet. And I think it's because Glowforge, which was the starter laser for the hobbyist field, they weren't the first, but they were the one that really got the word of mouth going. This was the size bed that they supported. So all the wood companies stuck with this. I'm going to put this in let me see if I can do this so you can see. Okay. Let me bend the camera down. Okay. I'm going to put it in the bed. Now, what are these? These are just pieces of wood. You'll notice it's crooked, right? It doesn't matter. It's not smart enough. The laser isn't smart enough. Lightburn's not smart enough to know the placement of the wood and whether it's square or not. You can visibly do it. You don't have to be exact, but I like to know that it's square. So what I do is I put 2 pieces of wood against the front panel. These are identical in size. And then I pull the wood to it. And I know that it's square with the gantry and it's square vertically and horizontally. And it will only happen if these pieces are identical, and they are. Now, do you see that play? Your wood sometimes is warped. I mentioned the honeycomb. The honeycomb allows you to use these holders. They go in and they just hold the wood down. And I'm not worried about the little bit of warpage. The laser will cut out the smaller pieces. The warpage won't matter that much. It really matters on big items. But once you start gluing things up, you can take the warp out. This wood has a slight warp to it because it's cold here in the basement. And sometimes the wood will do that. So I just put 2 holders at the corners, and it's flat. Then there are controls. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry, the microphone. There are controls right here. Let's see if I get it right here. These arrows allow me to move the head, the laser head. Watch, I'm going to move it to the left. Maybe to your right if it's mirrored. Move it to the left, move it up, move it down. What I'm going to do is I want to put it up here and treat that as my origin. So I'm going to use the laser. I'm going to move the microphone. I'm going to move it over. And you can do it in little increments. You can set the fine tune. Every time I press it really fast or real quick, it might move at a fraction of an inch, but you can actually turn it down into tenths and hundredths of an inch every time you press the button, but I don't need that level of control. So what I've done is I've put it as close to the left as I can. Can you see the red dot? There's a sight laser. It's not a real laser. You can put your finger in there. It just tells you where the beam is going to start, where it's going to start. That is my origin. So with that as my origin, let me see if y'all have any questions. You can use golf tees. I'll have to check on that. I don't know. Can you? I'll look. I mean, maybe it'll work. I don't know. I don't know that. Hemp fiberboard, not so much. Yeah. If Jim were to use hickory wood, his shot was, that would be nice. You can also use golf tees. This is fascinating. Assume the moisture content in the wood plays a huge part. Yes. Yeah. Most of the time my wood is flat. No problems. But every now and then I get, and also the big sheets, sometimes UPS or FedEx, they ship the box upright instead of laying flat. And you'll get a couple pieces in there that are warped or whatever. It's such a pain. All right. So what I'm going to do now, you've seen how I designed the item. You've seen how I put the wood in. I am going to connect the laser to my computer with a simple USB. All right. Then now I'm going to go back to my software stuff. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Where am I? Am I on the wrong thing? Oh, it was the other direction. There we go. Okay. We now have to send this to the machine. Now, there's no real way for me to do this and show it to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the buttons and tell you what. This button right here, this frame button, what it will do is it will test, it will drive the laser around the perimeter of the object so I can visibly look at the wood to see if it's going beyond the borders of the wood. So let me do that. And you're just going to have to trust me that it's doing it. Takes about 10 to 30 seconds, depending on the size of the object. Okay, when I'm ready to send, I will click this button right here, send. And I can name it whatever I want. I'm going to call it Thunder, which is a placeholder name for just anything I don't really care to save. The machine can hold up to 100 files. I don't want it to save this just yet. And I'm going to click OK. and it's going to say there's already a file by that name. That's fine. Do you want to overwrite it? And I'm going to say, oh, you know what? Let me close the lid. Close the lid on your laser. It would not work with the lid open anyway, but I'll click yes. And then I'm going to go back to, you can hear the laser fire up, and it's going. Let's see if I can set this down so that you can watch it. I know it's a weird angle. I apologize, but there's really no way for me to get the webcam to show it to you. And if you'll remember, it said it'll take about 2.5 minutes. Now, most 3D printers will tell you, oh, it takes 4 hours, and then it'll take 6, right? The laser is very accurate in its time estimate. It knows how fast the motors move, and if it says 2 minutes, 35 seconds, it's going to be 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 seconds slower or faster. It just depends on some other factors. But it's going, and you probably can't see all of it. I don't even know if you can see the actual cutting. Well, maybe there you can. Now you can. So it's cutting, and now it's cutting those circles. And what's it doing now? It's finishing the circle. Now it's going to do the small card box, and then it'll do the token above it, I believe. Nope. Going to do the small squares to the right of it. All right, and done. You hear the 3 beeps. There's a light back here. See that red light, green light? There's a green light that tells me that the job is done. And then I will take it out. So as soon as you'll hear it. What it's doing right now is there's an exhaust fan back there on the ground. It's pulling all the smoke out of the machine and venting it outside. It's not a lot. It's if you go out there, you might smell a little bit of it, but it dissipates really fast. And what you end up with is, let me move the buttons, get the object away. All right. So the piece is done. So I just removed the holders. This is always fun when you lift it up, everything comes out. Now, one of the sides didn't completely. It still had a little fringe on it. And then when you lift this up, all those pieces ought to fall out. There you go. And you're left with the thing. So let me take these pieces, and I'll leave those in there for later. I'll get those out. And now, going to ask a terrible question. Would this work with XPS foam? No, you don't want to cut. I've heard people say, oh, yeah, you can cut XPS foam. No, you don't want to. It's the fumes are bad for you, real bad. And even though it's venting outside, you're going to get some of it. My workshop always has a slight wood burning smell because you can't, opening the lid releases some of it, and you're going to get a whiff of it, and you don't want that. All right. Perfect. There it is. So this will be glued down onto here. And then these edge pieces will be glued here. And there's just a slight overhang. Not a big one, but just enough to keep these together. So what I would do is take my glue, and I just run it around the edges, and you want to get everywhere. Let's see. See all the glue? Then what I do is you can take anything heavy or square. I take these what they call 1, 2, 3 blocks, and I put them on the left and right, and then I put this in here like this, squared up this way, squared up this way. And what you can do if you really want, you could also put some weight down on the surface, to make sure you really get a good contact there. Now, after technically I should wait to glue the sides, but what I'm going to do, and by the way, this was a dumb idea because I was thinking that I still had Death May Die in my mind where the card can move around. There's nothing to move around here. This is the final board. What these would do is just give you a pretty border so that you don't have the lasered side, the brown on the edge. So what's going to happen is in about a minute, I can take this off. I'm going to pile these on really high. I want this thing to be really, really held down. The wood glue, it sets in a couple minutes. It says it takes a half an hour to an hour to really be as strong. Wood glue is the strongest stuff. You can use super glue for wood, but wood glue, hands down, is what you really want to be doing when you're doing with wood. So in a moment, what I can do is take that off and check the tokens. And I can already tell you right now, I'm dropping some of the tokens down and they fit perfectly in there. Now, what didn't I do? Well, I didn't do Lisa's suggestion of maybe a thumb piece to pry the card out. The card is not going to be real tight in there. None of the cards are, because I built that little barrier, or little extra space to go around the item so that it should fall out pretty easily. Do you ever find wood grain to be a constraint? Yeah, wood grain, you have to consider most of those sheets that I showed you, the grain runs left to right. That's just the way they cut it. I didn't even think about that I never thought about that as a question you guys might need to know. Okay, so wood grain, is a direction on the wood. It'll go left to right, up and down. Usually it won't go diagonally. It's because of the way they orient the wood when they cut the lumber. It'll go in a north, south, east, or west direction. When you're cutting, if strength is ideal, like I'm doing 2 layers here, right? There's 2 layers. If strength is ideal, what I should have done was I should have taken the top piece and turned it this way for a cut. That way the grain is going left to right here, up and down. And that way when I glue them, I have one piece that's left to right, one piece that's up and down. And together, it's super strong because the grains are going opposite directions. For something small like this, it doesn't matter. But when you get to something big, you start doing something bigger like this. This is an old, is this old? No, this is the old version. This is a board that I made for 4 Against Darkness. So you'll notice the wood grain goes this way and it goes this way. This wood was flat. I didn't have to worry about that. But if there was some curvature to the wood, probably what I would have done was cut this piece left to right and cut the top piece this way so that when they're glued together, that warpage will sort of negate. Like one will be warping like this, one will be warping like this, but when you glue them together and you put weight down on it, there's a science to it, and I'm not a woodworker carpenter, but that's my best explanation. What are those flashes? This is so cool, that come up occasionally. Okay. I think Carl, what you're asking about is the laser. You saw like flashes. That laser is going all the way through the wood. It has a focus, so it only goes so far and then it dissipates. But you remember the honeycomb. Think about it. If this is the honeycomb and this is the wood on top of it, when the laser goes over a honeycomb, the empty space, the laser goes through. But when it hits the metal edge of the honeycomb, it's called a flash, or there's a word for it. Some of the laser people, they have terminology for everything, but it's just flashing. And what it is I can show you. on the back of the wood, you see those little psh, 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 psh. That's where the metal of the honeycomb and the laser hit, and it flashed in just infinitesimal small, but it was enough to give just a little burn mark on the wood. Now this is the back, and I don't care about that. Here it's even more noticeable. That's all where it's. What some people do to get around that is you can buy objects to lift the wood off the honeycomb and put them in the four corners, and so you're less likely to get that. It's almost impossible not to get some of it, because at some point something's got to support the object you're cutting, and the laser is going to hit that at some point. And usually it needs to be metal or something solid that's not going to get damaged. Yeah, don't cut XPS foam. Do you ever find wood grain? Okay, hold on. Where do I buy those? Oh, you're talking about, I think you're talking about these 1, 2, 3 blocks. You can buy these on Amazon. They're not cheap. I think it's $18 for a pair for 2 of these. They're very heavy, very. I dropped one on my foot once with a shoe on, and my basement was filled with language that was not suitable for my children, but it's got a sharp point on all the edges, and it's heavy. So if it hits, no matter how it hits, it's going to hurt. $18 for 2. I've never found them anywhere cheaper. If you know someplace that you can get them cheaper, let me know, because I only have a dozen of them, and that's been birthday presents over a number of years, because they're expensive, $9 a piece. And I only use them for weighing things, but I also use them when I'm crafting, because they're perfect for making 90 degrees, and you can square up things like what I showed you and stuff like that. They're a great tool. They're just too pricey. They also have holes in them because they're called machinist blocks. We used to use them in engineering school. You can use them. You can put, some of them are threaded. Yeah, you probably can't see it, but there's threads in them. You can use them to bolt these things to a workspace. So when you're drilling or cutting, the metal or whatever you're cutting doesn't move. These are called machinist blocks, and they're just useful that way. And they're very heavy. Carpenters started discovering them, and I don't know what I'd do without them, but I could use about 50. I'd love to have 50, but you do the math. All right. All right, let's take a look. Da-da-da. All right, let's put everything in. Okay, the card fits. All right, I already found my first mistake. The battle card, this fits perfect. See how it wiggles? The token, perfect. Look at the card. It will not go in there. And if I remember right, I did not add the 0.5 like I said I was going to do. I didn't do it. So this is it's a tight fit. It would go in. I could force it in, but I don't want to damage my card. So what I normally do when I prototype is I usually have, let me do it right now. I'm not going to be using this because it's an early iteration. But what I do is I actually use my prototypes and I make notes on them. So in here, I would put plus 0.5. And you could do width and height. You could do width, height, whatever. But I make a note in there. All right, the circles, perfect. And they drop out just fine too. Let's try the hexagon. Perfect. Drop out. Let's do the circle. Perfect. Now they're all a little bit bigger than the token. If you want a really tight fit with very little, that's the tolerance. That's called tolerance. You're going to learn that word. Tolerance is, how close to actual you get. I could get this. It would take a couple if I wanted to do that, how would I do it? Well, what I'd do is I would take this circle, and then I would make a copy of it, and a copy, and a copy. And I would shrink this one by 0.1 millimeter. I would shrink this one by 0.2 millimeters from this one. And I would do about 4 or 5 of these. I would cut it, and then I would test the fit. And when I find the one that is a perfect match, where it sort of holds it tight, but it requires just a tap of my finger to release it, then there's some glue in there. Then that's the size you want. For me, I don't go that crazy. I just want, because this is going to be sitting flat on the desk, and I just want to be able to just drop the token in there, to indicate something, right? Now, how could I improve this? Well, we're almost at, oh boy, we are, what did I start this at, 1:30? We're way over time. But it looks like we're still going, so it didn't cut me off at an hour. How could I make this better? Well, I might put a piece of wood across the back so that it slightly elevates it, right? I could make it just a hair, or I could make it a lot, right? And what I would probably do is I would probably cut two triangles like what you would see on the back of a picture frame and glue them on the back so that this piece is held at an angle that I can view from the table, but that holds the tokens without falling out. It's one way I could improve it. I could put text on it. I didn't even show you engraving because engraving takes time. I could label shield, 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 health, 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 health. I could put text in here, kind of silly, but I could put Spartan card, weapon card, that kind of thing. It's up to you. You'll notice the edge, it's brown. That's because it has been laser cut. If you sand it, I rarely sand my stuff. Well, I'm not doing a very good job, but you can see that it will come off and it'll reveal the natural color of the wood. You can see it on both sides. But this is the browning is caused by the laser, the burn. You can get rid of that. You could cut framing pieces and frame it all the way around to cover that, to keep it. You could paint it. You could paint these, a color so that each one of your soldiers has a different color. All kinds of crazy ways that you could do this. But there you go. Prototype number one. Also, what I also do, this probably doesn't matter to you, but if you ever get into this, you're going to want to have some habits. So what I do is I put today's date, which is the 30th. I put version 1. I also usually put the file name. So this was Halo, or no, I think it was Spartan. It was called Halo Proto Board version 1. Halo Proto Board V1. I put the name of the file, and then I put beta, or I'll put fail, or I'll put final. And it's just to let me know when I find this sitting on my desktop, I go, oh man, oh yeah, this is the beta chunk. Oh, this is the final one. Well, I better hold on to that one. I could do it in different wood. I could do this in a brown, a walnut in a different color. I could paint it. This spray paints very, very well. Lots and lots of cool things you can do. All right. I'm tired. I need a break. Let's see. If line width affects the cuts, could you use wider lines to make that buffer? No, again, maybe some lasers do. This laser, it just says red line, cut. Also, let me take you back to the software and I'll show you. Here. Okay. You see right here, I don't know if you, here's the object, right? It's all in red. So see how it's color red? It's cutting a line. So what that means is anywhere there's a red, it's going to the laser is just cutting all the way through in a single direction. So from point to point, it's a line. Now, let me show you what you could do. If I wanted to put text on it, let me enlarge that so you'll be able to see it. Okay, so I want to put my name on it, right? Well, I could choose blue, these colors down here in the lower left corner. I could choose blue, and it will do a line. But notice the power is, the speed is higher, 175, and the power is much lower. So it's just going to make a slight cut into the wood. It's kind of like writing with a pen. Now, I could change it to purple, or all these colors can have custom settings for the speed and the power. Purple or pink is, actually it's pink. Pink is engraving. So it's going to go at a speed of 20, but a power of 50. So it's actually going to burn between it. What it does is anything that's enclosed within purple, it's going to burn the wood down a certain level. So it's going to actually burn that wood out and leave like an indentation. So that's how you do it. And notice it says fill. So you have line and you have fill. So fill means it's going to fill everything between the pink. Line means just between points. All these are defined as points. It's going to just do a line. And the red sets the speed and the power. And the speed 25 and the power 100, these are numbers that are defined by the laser you own. Your speed, your laser may be different than mine, and its speed of 25% might be different than my speed 25%. Power is like I have a 100-watt laser. So at 100%, it's using 100 watts. If you have a 40-watt laser and this set to 100, you're only cutting with 40 watts of power. It might take 2 passes to cut through a 1/4-inch piece of wood with a 40-watt laser. So there you go. Alan, so glad you asked, and so glad I was able to demo this for the group of you. I hope this has been helpful to you. Obviously, I'm always an email away if you have any questions. I apologize for the shaky camera and the moving around and stuff like that, but it's just really hard to demo designing something and then sending it to the laser without moving the webcam around. If you have any final questions, you can always email me at Jim's Workshop, JIMS Workshop, all one word, at fastmail.com. Or you can catch me on the Facebook channel, or you can comment in the YouTube comments, and I will do my best to help you out. I am by no means an expert, okay? I learn new things all the time with my laser, with the Lightburn software, with the Inkscape software. I am very fortunate that when I was in engineering school, I had access to some of this stuff, not in this level of power, but some of the concepts like origin and the terminologies and things, and also some of the design stuff. I had that in school. Not everybody has access to that. So it's the laser machines are not to be underestimated in terms of their danger. It's a tool, and like any tool, it can bite back. I never leave the room when my laser's running. I might be 10, 15 feet away, but I have my eyes on it, or it's within line of sight. I have fire extinguishers. I have 2 fire extinguishers and a fireball, which is this foam covered ball. And so I have 3 different things to put out fires. Again, I never leave it unattended. I don't cut paper. A lot of people cut thin stuff, paper, cardboard, vinyl stickers, that kind of stuff. It's crazy. They'll tell you don't do it. People do it. You'll go and you'll find horror stories online with pictures of people's lasers that have caught fire and everything. Typically when I see that, if you dig deep enough, you find out they were cutting cardboard or paper or vinyl stickers or something that was not intended to be cut with a laser beam that is producing heat like the sun. Wood, knock on wood, I have not had any problem cutting wood. There's a little tube near the laser head as the laser fires. There's a tube that is blowing air, and it's there to extinguish any embers or any little burning, that might get started. It puts it out. But it can only do so much because paper is very flammable. When it lights, it will ignite very quickly. And this airflow's not putting out enough airflow to extinguish that. But on wood, it can do that. So always be careful. If you're looking for a laser, a hobby laser, I have my own opinions. I don't ever take one person's opinion as the standard. I would making toothpicks with a chainsaw. Yeah. I have a Thunder laser and I love it. And it has held up, and it has been exactly what all the reviews said it was. But there are lasers out there that are less expensive that other people rave about. They may be lower power. They may be higher power. It just depends on what you're looking for. My personal opinion, I would stay away from Glowforge. And I only say that because you saw that I can design on my laptop. The Lightburn software is $30 a year. As long as I pay my subscription fee, it's mine. I own it, or you know what I mean. I don't own it, but it's $30 a year. I'm not sending the file up into the internet or the cloud and having it come down to my laser. Glowforge works that way. When you create a file, whether you do it in Inkscape or or the Glowforge software, which is limited, when you send that file to your Glowforge, which is sitting 5 feet away, 10 feet away, whatever, no, it sends it to their servers in California or wherever, and it does the processing, and then it sends that back to the Glowforge, and then the button starts glowing green, like it's ready to print. So you push the button and it starts cutting. What happens when Glowforge goes out of business? What happens if, like in California, their data center is destroyed in fire, an earthquake, and you can't send your files to your laser cutter? These are things that I didn't know about when I bought my first Glowforge. And I remember the first time I sent the file and it sent it and it wasn't able to connect, and they were having technical issues, and everybody was on the Facebook page posting, why can't I submit my files? Why can't I submit my files? They were having a tech glitch, and it lasted more than a day. And then when it finally came online, everybody and their grandmother who had a Glowforge was sending their files up, and it would clog the system, and it crashed, and we had another. So Glowforge knows this is an issue, and they have not changed it. There are other laser companies, I believe, that do similar type things. So know what you're getting. You want control of your laser. If Lightburn goes out of business, there are other software packages that will communicate from the laptop to the laser. If the Thunder goes out of business, there are other laser companies that sell replacement parts for it. It's a lot of standardized stuff. So you just have to do your own research, and you have to be comfortable. You have to be comfortable with this as a machine, and you do need a little bit of patience. There's a learning curve. There's a learning curve with anything. I didn't just plug the Thunder in when I got it and then send a file to it and everything worked. I had to do some learning. I had to learn about the power settings, the speed settings. I had to learn about the materials that I was going to be using and what the proper speeds and powers were for those. So don't think it's like a 3D printer that you can just plug in, upload your file, and load some filament, and you're good to go. I wish it were that easy, but a laser is not there yet. All right. We regret buying a Glowforge for small projects compared to our 100 watt. I don't regret my Glowforge. I learned so much when I had the Glowforge. What the Glowforge, other than that issue of not being able to send your files directly to the Glowforge, where I ran into limits was the limits of the machine. I was getting more orders faster than I could produce them with the Glowforge. The Glowforge was slow. I remember the first time I ran a job on my Glowforge before I shut it off and powered it down forever, and I ran the exact same job on this Thunder. The Glowforge took like 30 minutes to cut something, and the Thunder took 2. So there you go. I don't remember what it was. Oh, I do remember what it was. A toy train that I made. It was about this big, smaller than this, more cuts, but smaller than this. Almost 30 minutes on the Glowforge, 2 minutes or so on the Thunder. So there you go. Hey, I need to cut this out. Thank you for joining me. We're at an hour and a half. That's acceptable. If you have any questions, you can post them once the video goes live. Post them there. I'll check it. Or you can email me at jimsworkshop@fastmail.com, or you can hit me on the Tabletop Engineer Facebook group. Those are the 3 places. If you hit me on Discord, it's a hit or miss. Discord is not my thing. I know I'm old. Look at my hair. I'm. It's just not. I'm one of them old men now, and I don't want Discord. So, do you have a go-to source for troubleshooting or research? For Thunder, it's the Facebook group. Also, they have tech support, which is really good. You just email support@thunderlaserusa.com, and they create a ticket, and you get some people involved. But yeah, if I have just a technical question about like cutting some new material, or maybe I'm trying to do something fancy and I don't know how to do it, the Facebook group for Thunder has been outstanding. I still belong to the Glowforge group, and occasionally I'll post there. because I want an answer fast, and they have a much larger user base than the Thunder. So sometimes I get an answer faster on the Glowforge. And usually it's a question regarding like the design of something, not the cutting, because I don't have a Glowforge anymore. So yeah, that's my go-to. The students love it, but the fight with our IT department to allow it on the network was just yeah. I mean, I understand why they did it. It just, they're a successful company, and it's time to retire that. They need to give people control of their laser and stop requiring them to send their files up and all that. Great stream. Thanks for putting it on. You are welcome. You are welcome. Everybody, I'll be doing another live chat probably maybe this weekend. If not this weekend, definitely next week. So, and please join me on Wednesday nights if you're a patron of mine. I do a Wednesday night live miniature. We paint miniatures and chat and talk, and it's really fun. We did it last night. We had 4 people on, and but yeah, happy to do this anytime. If there's anything else you want me to chat about or demo or show you, ask. I may say no, but this was an easy one for me to share with you, and I hope you enjoyed it. So thanks again to Alan for putting up the request. Thank all of you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next live stream. Everybody, take care.